you're ordering, you know, and then you drop a bomb on her, like something like, did you know I have a third toe? I don't know, whatever. And then you're gonna be like, no. We're filming the intro, over. Hi, my name is Valentina V and welcome to 4-Minute Film School. Today we are shooting a romantic candlelit scene at night. It's gonna go from looking like this to this. All right, let's get started. We're starting now, over. Okay, so how can lighting convey romance? Well, for me, that sort of intimate kind of mood really correlates to warm lighting. And also, it's soft light, it is motivated light, so motivated from practicals like candles or Christmas lights in the back, and of course, that sparkle of light. And that's what we are gonna try to convey today in this setup right here, in this outdoor eating establishment. You can see this type of lighting in scenes from The Theory of Everything, or even actually from Tangled, like all those warm lights in the water. That is just a super romantic mood. Of course, we are setting it up during the day so that as soon as it hits night, we can start shooting. In this setup, these lights behind are going to be incredibly important because not only do they set that romantic scene, but they're also practicals. So communicate with your production designer to make sure that the lights are the size you want, the type you want, the location you want, the color you want. Because string lights and Christmas lights usually come in two flavors. They come in daylight and they come in tungsten. In this case, I really wanted to make sure that I used warm lights, tungsten lights. So we have these that are here from the location, but then we brought in two more strings of bigger lights just to add a little bit more. We also have Christmas lights up top. So all of these lights are actually going to be the practicals that are keying our subjects in the two shot. I would say the wide, but we're actually shooting it on an 85 instead of an actual wide angle lens because the amount of restaurant we have is very little. So by shooting it on a longer lens, we're trying to make it look like there's more to the scene than there actually is. So I've got the Canon C70 with the Rokinon Zoom lens. We're gonna put some people in the foreground milling about to make it look busier. And another advantage of shooting on the 85 is that the lowest T-stop is T1.5. So not only are those Christmas lights gonna have really nice, beautiful bokeh in the scene, really creamy, beautiful round orbs, but we're also not gonna need to raise our ISO too much. I want this to be super, super cozy, and to me, coziness is a downtown area where all the restaurants and shops are open. You have this like soft, warm light coming in from the businesses around. So we put shears on this window, which is just outside of our scene over here, and the shears are gonna act as a diffusion for our 600D. Now, to be honest, this is a little bit overkill because we are trying to match our exposure with our Christmas lights. So the Christmas lights aren't that bright, which means the 600D can't be that bright. We're probably gonna use it at just like 1 or 2%. We're gonna put some barn doors on there, clamp some CTO, color temperature orange, and then just send it through this window. Okay, striking. So here I've stacked full CTO and half CTO to match the sparkle lights outside. When you're stacking gels, you're actually trapping heat. So think of this like, you know, you have to wear layers if you want to be warmer because you trap heat between the layers of your clothes. Same thing with gels. So you don't want to use double up gels unless you are using a light at very little power. In this case, we're using the 600D, an extremely powerful light at 0.1%. So it's gonna be fine. Let's check it. Oh yes, that's perfect. All of the lighting in this scene is motivated lighting. So whether it's the Christmas lights and the candle that we see, which are practicals, or the shop lights, which we don't see, but they're still motivated by something that exists in the world, the shop lights. I put one 600D in here through shears. This window, it has a bit of frost on it, but not as much diffusion. So in order to get that soft quality of lighting, we put the 600D behind it with a light dome 2 in front of it. Do you see that? I think it's only one of the strings that's flickering.
Okay.
So we may need to kill one of them, but we just need to see which one first.
I think it's the bigger bulb.
You think it's the bigger bulbs? While I initially wanted 2 large strings of light on the background to complement these Christmas lights, one of them was actually at the wrong frequency. So it was causing the entire scene to strobe. And that doesn't look so great. So we actually took it down. Thank you so much. And we readjusted one of them so that it would be more of like the hero light strand right through the center of the shot here in the background. We also have a candle on the table, which we've burned down for 2 reasons. One, because it looks better, because it looks like it's been, you know, burning for a while. But 2, that means that it's lower on the table so that when we go into our close-ups, our over the shoulders, we can swap it out for a film light for safety. Another cool thing about this location is that it has these awesome wall sconces already in here. So we're gonna replace the bulbs that are in there with B7cs, because not only are these battery powered, so it doesn't matter if we route power to the wall sconces, but also they're Bluetooth. So I can reset them and then control them from my iPad. So everything is on Bluetooth. I'm shooting a log image, which means the actual image that I'm shooting is very flat, it's very gray. I'm doing that so I retain the most information in my highlights and my shadows, but exposing off of that log image is really hard to do. That's why I have a monitor that has a LUT on it, which gives me an approximation of what the color correction could look like, and I'm using this to set my exposure. So I use exposure monitoring tools like false color, like histograms, to tell me whether or not I'm blowing out my highlights or going a little bit too dark, and that is how I can set my ISO. I'm already doing myself a lot of favors by keeping the lens at T1.5, which is the most open it can be, the most light it can let in, but I'm sort of limited by the intensity of the lights in the background. So that's what I'm trying to adjust my exposure to. I associate romantic lighting with a diffused, halated look, which means that all of the highlights are sort of blooming a little bit, and there's a lot of diffusion filters that you can get, like Promist, Pearlescent, Cinebloom. In this case, I thought Pearlescent would work really well, and it does, as long as you're not moving your camera. Because when you're moving your camera at all, you have all of these reflections that are picking up on the actual particles in the glass filter, and it's causing a lot of flaring. As always, I base my white balance on 2 things. 1 is what is the mood I want to convey, and 2 is what are the lights already in the space. In this case, we actually have the Christmas lights up top and the Christmas lights in the back, and they are already at a tungsten white balance. If we set it to 3200, which is your standard white balance for tungsten, all the lights become white. They almost turn into daylight because it's the same white balance in the lights, same white balance in the camera. So we have to push it a little bit higher, a little bit warmer. I pushed it to 4000. That made the lights a lot warmer, a lot closer to that romantic, intimate mood that I want to convey. So as long as you clear the table frame, you may not even have to come up to the table. So let's go back and let's see what we can do about this. That's great. Yeah, just close the door. Perfect. Do we have a black flag? Sorry, this is now giving me a lot. Now that we have the camera up on the Steadicam, and as he's walking forward, he needs to be able to clear this table, but this table has some really nasty foreground light happening that is happening from just the lights across the street from the top of that building. So we're gonna put up a black floppy just to kill any of that light in the background. And we're gonna do the walk now. All right, we got the wide, moving on. Now that we're popping in for the close-ups, I'm really thinking about how do I make the face look more dynamic. This is not gonna cut it as a key light, okay? I have to supplement it with something. So the first thing, the modifier. I want to use a lantern because a lantern is going to give me that soft, glowy, beautiful vibe that I want. It pops open just like this, bam. But one of the drawbacks with the lantern is that it doesn't have a gel holder inside. So to gel it, you either have to put CTO on the inside, tape it to the outside, or just use a light that has a tungsten option. So we're gonna use the 300X because the X stands for a crossfade between daylight and tungsten. So we're gonna use the X on the tungsten setting, and that way we can just attach it, no need to gel it. Right now we're getting really nice soft light from this side, but from this side we're getting really harsh lights from the skylights on top of those buildings. Not only are they harsh, they're also the wrong color temperature, they're daylight. So to kill that, we have a black floppy, it's a 4x floppy that we're gonna put on this side, killing off any of that spill, but also providing a little bit of negative fill on this side of her face in order to make that light more dynamic. So I brought this light as far down as possible so that it actually catches in her eyes. If we had that light too high up, then we wouldn't see the reflection in her eye, and her eye wouldn't be able to convey as much emotion. A little bit of safety when you are rigging a light that is close to an actor, above an actor, you obviously don't want it to fall on their heads or to fall on anything else. So you make sure that the knuckle on your C-stand is on the right side. That way, if it ever falls forward, it just tightens and it catches itself. Also, on the end here, you want to put a sandbag, and on the legs, just to double up on that, try to put 2 sandbags. I like to do it this way on the biggest leg and the second biggest leg. Some people prefer to do it on both on the biggest leg. Either way, have a lot of weight on the biggest leg and have the biggest leg facing where the light is armed out. We have our light on the table. This is an MC light, and it is currently set at just a color, but a candle does what? A candle flickers. So I can go to the settings of the MC light and go on the fire setting. There we go. It's imitating that candle flicker. It's a little bit safer because now that we've come in closer, it's just being around a live flame is just not safe. So this is just an easier way to do it. All right, moving on to the other side, the close-up with a twist. When you're coming in for close-ups, you want to be on the same side of a 180-degree line, right? So if there was a line that was stretched between them, you always want to be on one side of it. Or do you? Well, there is a way to break it. There is a way to break the rule, and it can only really happen in the same shot. So as you're shooting, you move the camera to the other side. But there has to be a reason for it. In this case, the reason is she has just told her something insane. And so her reaction changes from being really, really happy because they're on a date to really, really pissed off and sad. So I am complementing that with the camera move. Whereas before you had the back and forth on the same side of the line, now in the same shot, as we cross, when we're on this side, now she's mad and she storms off. The other advantage of this for us cinematically is that now everything behind is in play. So we have to add more lights to the sconces. We have to sweeten up the wall. And we're just gonna reposition a bunch of things for it to work best for us. I've repositioned this light a little bit so our Steadicam operator has room to maneuver, but because it is an omnidirectional light, it's actually casting a lot of light onto this background, which is also bright. So I don't want that. I want to cut off that background light a little bit. So I will just add the skirt. We have this extension of the restaurant, and we want to give more light to the people in the background. So I'm going to reposition the 300D that was over there over on this window. And I'm actually going to angle it from this side, because when we start turning this way, then we start seeing this way. So I kind of want it to come from this side instead. So you're the mean one, and you're the one, you're gonna react to how mean she is.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. So basically, you're ordering, you know, and then you drop a bomb on her, like something like, did you know I have a third toe? I don't know, whatever. And then you're gonna be like, no. And then you're gonna put your menu down and leave. 3, 2, 1, angry.
What?
And walk.
Did this to me? I told her she did that to me.
So you feel like now you fully know each other? Yeah. All right, everybody, we're done. That's a wrap. Woo! Thank you for joining me on this beautiful romantic evening where I showed you how to light for romance using techniques like soft tungsten lighting, using light strips, candlelight, and breaking the 180-degree rule. I want to know, what is the most important lighting technique for lighting romance, in your opinion? Let me know in the comments for a chance to win an Aputure B7C bulb, one of these babies. And if you enjoyed this, if you like what we do here, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. My social media links are down below, and until next time, happy shooting. Romantic scene. We're gonna go from this to...
Leo, if you get a chance, let's push the cooler to where your lunch is.